Earth had always been a peaceful planet, thriving in its own little corner of the galaxy. But everything changed in an instant. One day, without warning, a fleet of alien warships appeared on the horizon, descending from the stars with fire and fury. They struck without provocation, wiping out entire cities, leaving nothing but rubble and ash in their wake. The skies turned dark with the smoke of destruction, and the air was thick with fear. For weeks, humanity watched in horror as their world was torn apart. The attackers, a ruthless alien empire, seemed unstoppable. Their technology was far beyond anything Earth had, and the weapons they wielded were deadly. Every attempt to fight back was met with failure. Earth's leaders, desperate to protect the survivors, sent out a call for help. But no one came. The world was left alone, isolated, and on the brink of collapse. The survivors, now scattered and broken, were left to pick up the pieces of their once great civilization. Yet, in the midst of the destruction, something inside humanity stirred, a spark of defiance, a desire for justice. They refused to let their world fall to these invaders. In secret, a plan was born. The leaders of Earth, desperate for vengeance, made a bold decision. They would not surrender. They would not negotiate. Instead, they would strike back with everything they had. They assembled the largest fleet ever seen, a massive armada of 900,000 warships. It was a fleet born from desperation, one that would bring the fight to the alien invaders. The ships were a mix of human ingenuity and desperation. Some were brand new, equipped with the latest weaponry. Others were older, salvaged from the remnants of Earth's military forces. Each ship was a symbol of Earth's refusal to bow before the invaders. Each commander, each crew member, had lost something precious to the aliens, and they were ready to take back what was theirs. As the warships prepared for launch, the entire planet seemed to hold its breath. The people of Earth, hiding in underground bunkers or shelters, gathered around their monitors, watching as the fleet ascended into the sky. It was their last hope. The mission was clear: destroy the alien empire and avenge Earth. There was no room for failure. The fleet left Earth's atmosphere, its massive engines roaring as it cut through the void of space. The stars stretched out before them, an endless sea of possibility. For the crew members, this was no ordinary mission. It was personal. Each of them carried the memories of their families, their friends, their homes, everything the invaders had taken from them. The human fleet sailed through the darkness of space, their destination set for the alien homeworld. There was no turning back. Earth had been ravaged, and the warships were their final act of defiance. As they traveled deeper into space, the weight of their mission grew heavier. Could they really avenge Earth? Or would they fall just like the countless civilizations before them? The silence of space was deafening as the fleet moved toward its inevitable confrontation. The warships were ready, but deep down, each of the commanders knew that they were not just fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting for the future. And soon, they would find out if they were truly prepared for what lay ahead. As the fleet traveled through the vast emptiness of space, the human commanders couldn't help but feel the weight of what they were about to do. The mission was clear, but the cost was unimaginable. Earth had been broken, its cities destroyed, and its people scattered. There was no going back. All they could do now was push forward. The commanders of the 900,000 warships were diverse. Men and women from all corners of the Earth, each with their own story of loss. Captain Jacob Turner, commander of the Resolute, had watched his family perish in the flames of the alien bombardment. Commander Sarah Kim of the Horizon had lost her entire city in one night. Every ship, every fleet leader carried the weight of their personal grief. But it was not just their grief that drove them. It was the need for justice. They had one goal now: to avenge Earth and take back their future. As the ships sailed through space, the stars stretched out before them like an endless ocean. Yet even in the cold void of space, there was no peace. Tensions ran high within the fleet. Some felt the need to destroy everything, to leave no survivors. Others questioned the morality of their mission. Were they really seeking justice, or were they just blinded by anger? Captain Turner stood on the bridge of the Resolute, staring at the holographic map of their journey. The alien homeworld was not far off now, and as he studied the trajectory, a nagging feeling in his chest grew. It was the same feeling that had haunted him since they left Earth. Something didn't feel right. The aliens had invaded Earth with such force, but now, they had done nothing to stop this massive fleet heading toward them. It was almost as if they were waiting for the humans to come. He turned to his officers. "Is there anything on the scanners?" he asked, his voice steady but with an edge of uncertainty. The communications officer, Lieutenant Harris, quickly checked the readings. "No signs of alien ships in the area, sir. It's almost too quiet." Turner nodded grimly. "Something's wrong. Keep the fleet in formation. We'll be there in 3 days." The rest of the fleet had similar reports. No signs of alien ships, no signs of resistance. It was as if the invaders had vanished into thin air, leaving the humans with an eerie silence. It was unsettling. The humans had expected a fight, a massive battle. They had prepared for it. But this felt like a trap. As they neared the alien homeworld, the uncertainty grew. What would they find? Would the aliens be waiting for them? Would they be ready to finish what they had started? Or had they disappeared, leaving humanity to wonder if their entire mission was in vain? In the quiet of space, the fleet's anxiety was palpable. The crew members huddled in their stations, each of them holding on to a thread of hope. Maybe the aliens had already been defeated. Maybe there was peace to be found. But deep down, they all knew that peace wasn't the goal. Vengeance was. And soon, they would have their answer. The countdown to the final push was on. The human fleet, a symbol of Earth's resilience, was about to make history. Whether that history would be one of victory or destruction, no one knew. But what they didn't realize was that their arrival would not be met with the resistance they expected. Instead, it would change the course of everything they thought they knew about their enemies. As the human fleet neared the alien homeworld, a feeling of unease settled over the commanders. It had been days since they had encountered any sign of resistance, and the silence was beginning to feel unnatural. The fleet moved into the final approach, with the alien planet coming into full view. A barren world with jagged, dark mountains and no signs of life on its surface. It seemed like a perfect place for battle, but there was still no sign of the enemy. Captain Turner paced nervously on the Resolute's bridge. His mind raced with questions. Why had the aliens not put up a fight? Were they preparing for a counterattack? Or was something else going on? The crew was tense, knowing that they were about to face their greatest challenge. The entire fate of Earth was in their hands, yet the silence felt wrong. Just as Turner was about to give the order to prepare for combat, an unexpected signal broke through the silence. "Sir," Lieutenant Harris called out, his voice strained with disbelief. "We're receiving a transmission. It's coming from the planet's surface. It's not a distress signal, though. It's an invitation." "An invitation?" Turner's brow furrowed in confusion. "From whom?" "It's coming from a single source. An alien craft, but it's not part of the invading fleet. It's something different." The captain stared at the screen, uncertain of what to do. His instincts told him to prepare for the worst, but something about the signal felt strange, almost too calm, too peaceful. He wasn't sure whether to trust it, but the desire for answers pushed him forward. "Open the channel," Turner ordered. "Let's hear what they have to say." The screen flickered, and a figure appeared, a lone alien, standing in what looked like a dark, empty room. Its features were unfamiliar but strangely calm. Its skin was a pale shade of blue, its eyes glowing faintly as it stared into the camera. "I am Commander Tovar," the alien said in clear, unaccented English. "I am not part of the forces that attacked your planet. I've been waiting for you." The human officers on the bridge exchanged glances, waiting for them. How could that be possible? "What do you want?" Captain Turner demanded. "Why did your people invade Earth? What do you have to gain?" Tivar's expression remained neutral. We did not invade your world by choice. The invaders you fought were controlled by a power greater than any of us. I did not want to see your planet destroyed. The ones who attacked you, my people, they were under the control of a warlord race that has enslaved us for generations. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Captain Turner's heart raced as he tried to understand what Tivar was saying. An alien who had fought against his own kind. It didn't make sense. I know this is hard to believe, Tivar continued, but the warlords who attack your world are not the true threat. They were only pawns. The real danger is much worse. Captain Turner stared at the screen, his mind swirling with confusion. Was this a trap? Or was it possible that the warlords, the ones who had destroyed Earth, were not the true enemies? This isn't over, Turner said, his voice filled with determination. We're here to avenge Earth. If you stand in our way, we'll fight you too. Tivar's expression softened, and he shook his head. I don't wish to be your enemy. If you truly want to avenge Earth, you must listen. The warlords were sent by a force far more dangerous than you can imagine. Please, allow me to explain. The tension in the room was palpable. For the first time since they left Earth, the crew of the Resolute felt a glimmer of hope. Could it be that the alien homeworld wasn't the enemy after all? Was there a chance for peace, or was this a trick? Captain Turner hesitated, his hands gripping the edge of the command console. He had been trained to fight, to destroy the enemy. But now, facing an unexpected ally, he wasn't sure what to do. We're listening, Turner said finally, his voice steady, yet unsure of what the future held. The communication with Commander Tivar left the human fleet with more questions than answers. Was this alien telling the truth? Could the warlords really be controlled by someone else? Captain Turner and his crew sat in silence, pondering the possibility that their entire mission could be based on a misunderstanding. Earth had been devastated by the invaders, but now they were learning that the true story might be much more complicated. Captain Turner had always been a man of action. He didn't like waiting. But now, for the first time, he felt unsure. Prepare to land, he ordered. We're going to meet this alien face to face. We need to know the truth. The fleet moved closer to the alien homeworld, its surface still dark and barren from space. The ships hovered above the surface, ready for landing. Turner's crew boarded smaller shuttles, preparing for the strange journey ahead. The tension in the air was thick. What would they find on this alien world? Had they been chasing the wrong enemy all along? As the human fleet descended onto the alien planet's surface, the sight that greeted them was nothing like the battlefield they had expected. Instead of war-torn ruins or alien warships, they saw a quiet, peaceful landscape. The area was covered in lush greenery and strange, towering plants. There were no signs of military installations, no signs of destruction, just the calm of a world that seemed untouched by the chaos outside. The landing site was a vast open plain, and a small group of alien figures waited for them. They were nothing like the invaders who had attacked Earth. These aliens were calm, peaceful, and seemed almost relieved to see the humans. Tivar was among them. He greeted Captain Turner with a solemn nod. I told you, Tivar said, this world has suffered. Our people have been trapped by the warlords, forced to fight against their will. But we are not your enemies. Turner studied the alien carefully. The words seemed genuine, but how could he trust them? Why didn't you fight back when the warlords attacked us? Why did you let them destroy Earth? Tivar lowered his head, his eyes filled with regret. We tried. We tried to warn your people. But the warlords' power is too great. They control us through mind manipulation, forcing us to obey their every command. The attack on Earth was not our choice. It was theirs. The human crew looked around the peaceful surroundings, struggling to reconcile the beauty of this place with the brutal war they had fought. If you didn't want the war, why didn't you stop it? Turner asked. We couldn't, Tivar replied. For generations, we've been under the control of the warlords. They feed off the power they gain from conquering planets like yours. But there are many of us who have been trying to fight back from within. I'm part of a group that has secretly resisted. We've been waiting for someone, anyone, to help us." Turner's mind raced. "So, what do we do now? We came to avenge Earth, but it seems we're all fighting the same enemy." Tuvar nodded slowly. "Yes, the warlords are our true enemy. But they are not just a threat to your world or mine. They are a threat to the entire galaxy. If we do not unite, they will destroy everything." Captain Turner stood silent for a moment, taking in Tuvar's words. The idea of working with the very species that had once been their enemy was difficult to accept. But there was no denying the truth in what Tuvar had said. The warlords had manipulated both their worlds, and the real battle was still ahead. "We've lost too much already," Turner said finally. "If we can stop them, we will. Together." And with that, the uneasy alliance was formed. Humans and aliens, once enemies, now united against a common foe. The future of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy itself, depended on what came next. The decision to trust Tuvar and his people was not an easy one. Captain Turner sat in his quarters, staring out at the stars, his mind racing. Could they really trust the aliens who had once been their enemies? What if this was another trap, another scheme by the warlords to deceive them? He was not alone in his doubts. As word spread among the human fleet, many of the soldiers and officers began to question the sudden alliance. Some argued that the aliens had caused the destruction of Earth, and now they were asking for help. Others were more open to the idea, believing that humanity's goal, defeating the warlords, was far more important than old grudges. Captain Turner gathered his senior officers on the bridge of the Resolute, the flagship of the fleet. He looked at the faces of those who had been by his side since the beginning, those who had seen Earth burn and had fought to avenge it. They were all waiting for his decision. "Are we really doing the right thing?" Commander Sarah Kim of the Horizon asked, her voice tense. "We've lost so much already. What if they're leading us straight into a trap?" Turner looked at her. "I don't know, Sarah, but I don't see any other option. The warlords are the true enemy. If we're going to save Earth and stop them from destroying any more worlds, we need to work with them." Lieutenant Harris, the communications officer, glanced at the screen, which was still showing the peaceful landscape of the alien world. "They've shown us no signs of betrayal so far. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be cautious. We've seen what they're capable of." Turner nodded. "We'll remain on high alert. I'm not naive enough to believe this will be easy, but we have to at least try. The warlords are too powerful for us to fight alone." The room fell silent as each officer weighed the decision. Finally, it was Captain Turner's voice that broke the stillness. "We move forward, but we will not trust them blindly. We need answers, and we need to be prepared for anything." As the meeting ended, Turner couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into the unknown. He'd been to war before, but this was different. The enemy they were facing now was unlike anything they had ever encountered, and the alien allies they had gained, were they truly on their side, or was this just the calm before a storm? Later that day, Turner met with Tuvar and other leaders from the alien resistance. The plan was set. Human and alien forces would work together to launch a coordinated attack on the warlords. The humans would bring their advanced warships, and the aliens would provide their knowledge of the enemy's tactics and weaknesses. Together, they would strike. Tuvar spoke with a quiet intensity, his eyes filled with a determination that mirrored Turner's own. "The warlords are ruthless," he said. "They've taken everything from us. They will not stop until every civilization is destroyed. But if we fight together, we can defeat them. It is our only chance." Turner studied Tuvar closely. The alien had suffered just as much as the humans. He had seen his people enslaved and forced to fight against their will. But there was still a part of Turner that couldn't shake the fear that they were making a mistake. The warlords were cunning and powerful, and it was hard to believe that any single force could defeat them. Still, he knew what had to be done. If the warlords weren't stopped, no one would be safe. Earth and every other world would fall. "We're with you," Turner said, his voice firm. "Let's end this." The alliance was fragile, but it was their best hope. Together, the humans and aliens prepared to face the warlords, knowing that this fight could determine the future of the galaxy. Whether or not they would be able to trust each other, only time would tell. The moment of truth had arrived. After weeks of tension and uncertainty, the alliance between the humans and the aliens was now a reality. The combined forces, ready for their first strike against the warlords, were positioned just outside the enemy's stronghold. Captain Turner stood on the bridge of the Resolute, staring at the glowing mass of warships in front of him. It felt unreal. Just a few days ago, he and his crew had been preparing for vengeance against the alien invaders. Now they were preparing for something far more dangerous. "We're in position, Captain," Commander Kim reported. "The alien resistance fleet is holding steady on our right flank. We're ready for the attack." Turner nodded, his eyes scanning the fleet of 900,000 warships. There was a mix of human and alien vessels, their designs different, but their mission the same: to destroy the warlords and bring an end to their reign of terror. But as Turner glanced at the alien ships, he couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. The aliens had pledged their help, but could they really be trusted? Only time would tell. "Are the warlord ships on our scanners?" Turner asked. Lieutenant Harris worked quickly at his console. "We've got a small fleet of warlord vessels closing in on our position. It looks like they've detected our presence. They're preparing for battle." Captain Turner took a deep breath. The warlords were everything they had feared: ruthless, powerful, and always one step ahead. He had no illusions about what they were facing. The warlords had devastated Earth once, and they would stop at nothing to finish the job. "Prepare all weapons for immediate launch," Turner ordered. "This is it. We're not going to wait for them to make the first move." The fleet's engines roared to life as the warships surged forward. The combined human and alien fleet raced toward the warlord ships, cutting through space like a hammer ready to strike. The tension in the air was thick, and Turner could feel it in his chest. He knew that everything depended on this moment. If they failed, Earth would never recover. If they succeeded, they would not only avenge Earth, but they would also stop the warlords from destroying more worlds. As the two fleets closed in, the first shots rang out. The warlord ships opened fire, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts that streaked through space. The human ships returned fire, their weapons lighting up the dark void. Explosions erupted all around them, and the blackness of space was filled with the sounds of battle. The human fleet fought with everything they had, their ships darting through the chaos, unleashing their firepower on the warlord vessels. Alien ships joined the fray, their strange designs and advanced technology proving a match for the warlords' might. But the warlords weren't going down easily. Their ships were heavily armored and well-armed, and they fought with the ferocity of a race desperate to hold on to their power. Captain Turner watched the battle unfold on the screen, his heart racing. The warlords' ships were powerful, but the humans and their alien allies were putting up a fierce fight. The sound of explosions filled the bridge, and the crew worked frantically, coordinating the attack and dodging enemy fire. Turner's hands were steady as he gave orders, but his mind raced. This battle was far from over, and the longer it went on, the more dangerous it became. "Captain," Lieutenant Harris called out, his voice urgent. "We've got a large warlord cruiser coming in fast. It's heading straight for us. Brace for impact." Turner shouted. The massive warlord cruiser loomed large on the screen, a dark silhouette against the backdrop of exploding ships. The Resolute was no stranger to battle, but this was different. The cruiser was a beast, its weapons locked and loaded, ready to tear through anything in its path. The two ships collided with a violent crash, and the human warship shook violently under the impact. The crew struggled to keep control as the battle raged on around them. But Turner refused to back down. He wasn't going to let Earth fall to these monsters. He wasn't going to let his people die in vain. "Fire all weapons. Now," he ordered. The Resolute's weapons powered up, firing a devastating barrage at the warlord cruiser. The enemy ship was rocked by the blast, but it didn't go down. Instead, it returned fire, and another explosion shook the human fleet to its core. But they couldn't stop. They had no choice but to keep fighting. "This is for Earth," Turner muttered, his voice barely audible over the chaos. And with that, the first strike had begun. The war for Earth's survival had turned into a fight for the future of the entire galaxy. The battle was far from over, and the cost of victory was still unknown. But one thing was certain: humanity would fight until the very end. The battle raged on, the stars around the fleets illuminated by explosions, and the constant exchange of fire between the human and alien forces and the warlords. The human warships, though vastly outnumbered, fought with everything they had. But the warlords' ships were powerful and heavily armed. Each exchange of fire left debris in the cold vacuum of space, and the human fleet began to show signs of wear. Captain Turner stood on the bridge of the Resolute, his hands gripping the command console as he watched the unfolding chaos. The warlords were proving to be stronger than expected, their ships unyielding and relentless. He could feel the weight of his decision pressing on him. He had led his fleet into this battle, and if they failed, Earth would remain in ruins, and the warlords would spread their destruction across the galaxy. "Status report, Lieutenant Harris," Turner called out, his voice sharp. "We're holding steady, sir," Harris replied, his face tense. "But we've sustained heavy damage. A few ships are already out of the fight, and more are on the brink. We're running out of time." Turner clenched his jaw. This was exactly what he had feared. The human fleet was up against forces that were stronger and better equipped. They couldn't hold out forever. He needed something, anything, to turn the tide. Suddenly, a voice interrupted the tension. It was Commander Tavar, the alien leader who had joined forces with them. He stepped onto the bridge, his face grim but determined. "We have a solution," Tavar said, "but it comes with risks." Turner turned to him, hopeful but cautious. "What kind of solution?" Tavar motioned toward the holographic map of the battlefield, showing the warlord fleet closing in. "Our people discovered an ancient weapon deep beneath our planet's surface, something capable of turning the tide. It's an energy weapon of unimaginable power." Turner's heart skipped a beat. "An energy weapon. Will it be enough to stop the warlords?" Tavar nodded. "It can destroy entire fleets in a single shot, but there is a danger. The weapon is unstable. If we use it, it could destabilize the planet's core, causing the entire world to collapse." Captain Turner's mind raced. The idea of using such a powerful weapon was tempting, but the price was high. They could destroy the warlords, but at what cost? The alien planet would be lost forever, and with it, any hope of finding peace. But then, what choice did they have? Earth was already on the brink of total destruction, and they were losing this battle. "What kind of time frame are we looking at?" Turner asked. "We can activate the weapon immediately," Tavar replied, "but you must decide quickly. The warlord fleet will soon be upon us, and once they launch their full assault, we will not have another chance." Turner felt the weight of the decision settle over him. Earth's future rested on this moment. Was it worth the risk to save the galaxy? Was he willing to sacrifice an entire world to protect everything he had left? "I need a moment," Turner said, turning away to think. He walked to the back of the bridge, staring out at the vastness of space. The fire of battle burned in the distance, and the fate of his people hung in the balance. He thought about the survivors on Earth, the families torn apart, the cities reduced to ashes. Was this the price of revenge, or was this the only way to truly stop the warlords? Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Turner turned back to Tavar. "Do it. Activate the weapon. We'll take the risk." Tavar's expression softened with respect. It will be done. The command was given, and soon, the ancient weapon was activated. A bright pulse of energy rippled through space, streaking toward the warlord fleet. The blast was powerful, unlike anything Turner had ever seen. It tore through the warlord ships, their massive hulls breaking apart under the force of the energy. The battlefield shifted dramatically as the tide turned in favor of the human and alien forces. But as the weapon fired, the ground beneath their feet trembled. The alien world groaned in protest, the planet itself shaking from the power of the weapon. The core was destabilizing. Tivar's warning had been true. The price of victory would be the destruction of their home. "We need to leave," Turner said urgently. Now. The fleet, weakened but victorious, began to retreat from the collapsing planet. The warlords had been defeated, but the cost of that victory was clear. As the ships pulled away, Captain Turner couldn't help but glance back at the dying world. The war was over, but it had come at a great cost. The explosion of energy from the ancient weapon had torn through the warlord fleet, scattering their ships like debris in the wake of a storm. The human and alien forces had won the battle, but the victory felt hollow. The alien planet was dying, its core destabilized by the very weapon that had saved them. As the fleet retreated into the cold void of space, Captain Turner couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The warlords were defeated, but was this truly the end? On the bridge of the Resolute, Turner stood at the command console, staring at the wreckage of the warlord fleet that was now floating in space. Their ships had been torn apart, shattered by the power of the ancient weapon. It had been a direct hit, but as the pieces of the warlord ships drifted by, Turner felt a strange unease. The warlords were strong, but had they really been the greatest threat? Or was there more to the story? "Lieutenant Harris," Turner said, his voice steady but uncertain, "are we getting any more signals from the warlord fleet? Any survivors?" Harris turned to the console, his fingers flying over the controls. "No, sir. They're all gone. Whatever that weapon was, it wiped them out completely." "But," Harris hesitated, glancing back at Turner, "I'm picking up something strange. There's a signal coming from the debris field. It's not a warlord ship. It's different." "Different?" Turner asked, frowning. "What do you mean?" "It's a transmission," Harris replied. "Not from a warlord ship, but something else. Something more ancient." Turner's heart skipped a beat. "Open the channel. Let's hear it." The screen flickered to life, and the voice that came through was not the harsh, cold voice of the warlords, but a deep, powerful voice, one that seemed to echo from the depths of space itself. "Human," the voice said, its tone both distant and commanding. "You have made a grave mistake." Turner's blood ran cold. This was not what he had expected. "Who is this?" he demanded, his voice rising. "Where are you?" The voice did not answer directly, but instead continued. "You have destroyed the warlords, but you have not destroyed the true threat. They were not the ones who controlled the galaxy. They were the servants. The true masters are much older, much more powerful." A chill ran down Turner's spine as the screen showed an image of a massive, dark ship emerging from the wreckage of the warlord fleet. It was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Its design was ancient, almost organic in nature, its surface covered in symbols that seemed to pulse with energy. "This ship is called the Dominion," the voice continued, "and I am its master. You have just unleashed the wrath of a force that has been waiting for centuries. The warlords were nothing more than pawns in my game. They were my soldiers, sent to weaken the galaxy, to bring it to its knees. And now you have played right into my hands." The words hung in the air like a dark prophecy. Turner's mind raced as he tried to make sense of what was happening. The warlords, the ones who had destroyed Earth, had only been pawns. And now, this new force, the Dominion, was preparing to strike. "We won't let you destroy the galaxy," Turner said, his voice filled with determination. "We'll stop you, no matter what it takes." The voice chuckled softly. You think you can stop me? You're already too late. The Dominion will rise again, and when it does, you will be nothing more than ashes in the wind. The transmission cut off, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. Turner stared at the screen, his mind reeling. The battle had not ended. It had only just begun. Captain, we've got a fleet coming out of the debris field, Harris reported. It's massive, larger than anything we've ever seen. The Dominion ship. It's not alone. Turner clenched his fists. This was the moment he had feared. The warlords were gone, but the real battle had only begun. Earth's fight for survival was far from over. Now, the true enemy had shown its face, and the galaxy's future hung in the balance. Prepare the fleet, Turner said, his voice hard and resolute. We're not done yet. We will fight, and we will win. For Earth. For all of us. As the human and alien forces prepared for what was to come, Turner knew that the fight ahead would be unlike anything they had faced before. The Dominion was here, and they would stop at nothing to bring about the destruction of everything in their path. Captain Turner stood at the bridge of the Resolute, staring out at the vast expanse of space. The Dominion fleet had emerged from the wreckage, and its ships stretched across the stars like an endless dark cloud. It was far larger than anything the humans had ever faced before, and its power seemed overwhelming. The warlords, once seen as the greatest threat to humanity, were nothing more than pawns in the hands of this mysterious enemy. Status report, Lieutenant Harris, Turner called, his voice sharp. We've got the Dominion fleet closing in fast, Harris replied, his face pale. It's like nothing we've ever seen, Captain. Their ships are massive, and their weapons are unlike anything we've ever encountered. We're outgunned. Turner's heart sank. Earth had already been nearly destroyed once, and now they were facing an even greater force. His mind raced as he tried to figure out their next move. The human fleet was damaged, and the alien forces, though helpful, were not prepared for this kind of battle either. What's the plan, Captain? Commander Kim asked, her voice tight with concern. She was standing beside him, watching the approaching fleet. Turner took a deep breath. We fight. We don't have a choice. But the Dominion is too powerful, Kim argued. We're outnumbered, outgunned. We can't win this fight with what we have left. We don't have to win, Turner said, his eyes fixed on the approaching fleet. We just have to survive long enough to find a way to stop them. The Dominion ships loomed closer, their dark silhouettes blocking out the stars behind them. They were moving with precision, their formations tight, as if they had anticipated the human fleet's every move. Turner could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The stakes had never been higher, and the odds had never been worse. We've got to slow them down, Turner said, his voice steady. Lieutenant Harris, reroute power to our weapons and shields. Commander Kim, prepare the fleet to engage. Harris' fingers flew over the console. Aye, sir. Redirecting power now. Kim turned to her crew. All ships, brace for impact. We fight for Earth. The battle began with the first volley of fire from the Dominion fleet. The human warships and their alien allies returned fire, but the sheer scale of the Dominion's weapons quickly became clear. Energy blasts tore through the darkness, shattering the smaller ships and sending debris flying. Turner's heart pounded as he watched the destruction unfold. The human fleet was fighting with everything they had, but the Dominion ships were like giants, shrugging off their attacks as if they were nothing. Turner's mind raced. They couldn't keep up this fight for long. Even with the alien technology at their disposal, they were outmatched. Then, something unexpected happened. One of the Dominion ships broke formation. It was smaller than the others, but it was moving with purpose, heading directly toward the human fleet. It fired its weapons, but its shots seemed more deliberate, more controlled. What is that ship doing? Turner muttered, his eyes narrowing. The ship's weapons pulsed again, but instead of attacking, they hit a nearby Dominion vessel. The larger ship staggered, and its shields flickered. The smaller ship had attacked its own kind. Kim looked at Turner, her voice filled with confusion. Why would they do that? Why attack their own fleet? Turner's heart skipped a beat as realization dawned on him. The smaller ship wasn't part of the Dominion's main fleet. It was an enemy within their ranks, a defecting faction, just like the alien resistance that had once fought against the warlords. "Hold on," Turner said, his mind spinning with possibilities. "There's a chance, a small chance. If there are more like that ship, we might be able to turn the tide." "Captain, the Dominion ships are closing in," Harris warned. "We need to act fast." Turner turned back to the view screen, his mind focused. The Dominion fleet was relentless, but now there was hope. If they could find the defectors, work with them, they might stand a chance of stopping the Dominion once and for all. "Set a course for the small Dominion ship," Turner commanded. "Prepare to board. If we can get answers, we might be able to stop this war before it begins." As the human fleet moved toward the defecting Dominion ship, Turner knew that they were taking a dangerous gamble. But with no other options, it was the only chance they had. If they could convince the defectors to join their cause, they might stand a fighting chance against the true enemy. The battle was far from over. The future of Earth, and the galaxy itself, still hung in the balance. The defecting Dominion ship was now in range, its movement slow and deliberate as it approached the human fleet. Captain Turner stood at the bridge of the Resolute, watching the view screen as the small dark ship drifted closer. It was a risk, no doubt about it. The Dominion fleet was still in pursuit, and they were only moments away from being overwhelmed. But Turner had seen a flicker of hope in the enemy's ranks, and now it was their only chance. "Lieutenant Harris, any sign of enemy ships closing in on us?" Turner asked, keeping his voice calm despite the tension in the air. Harris worked quickly at the console. "They're getting closer, Captain. The main fleet is about 5 minutes away. We have no time to waste." Commander Kim stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Captain, if we're boarding that ship, we need to be prepared for anything. The Dominion doesn't forgive their traitors. We could be walking straight into a trap." Turner nodded, acknowledging the risk. "I know, Commander. But we don't have any other options. If that ship's defectors can help us, we might be able to turn this entire battle around." The defecting ship was now just a few kilometers away. It was smaller than most of the Dominion ships, barely a fraction of their size, but it still radiated a strange, unsettling power. Its hull was scratched and battered, showing signs of battle, but there were no weapons firing, no signs of aggression. Turner couldn't tell if it was an act of trust or desperation, but he wasn't about to let it slip away. "Prepare a boarding team," Turner ordered. "We're going in." The crew moved quickly, gathering their equipment and preparing for what would undoubtedly be the most dangerous part of the mission. As the airlocks sealed and the shuttle was prepped for launch, Turner's mind raced. This was their final chance. The Dominion fleet was far too powerful, and they couldn't fight it alone. If they didn't succeed in making contact with these defectors, they would lose this war, and perhaps lose everything. The shuttle launched from the Resolute, cutting through space at full speed. Inside, Turner and his team sat in silence, the gravity of the situation heavy in the air. There was no turning back now. The fate of Earth and the future of the galaxy rested on their success. As the shuttle docked with the defecting Dominion ship, the team quickly moved into position, weapons drawn. The ship's interior was eerily quiet, and Turner's heart pounded as they moved through the narrow corridors. There were no signs of immediate danger, but the silence felt wrong. They were surrounded by an enemy they didn't understand, and they could trust nothing. "Stay sharp," Turner whispered to his team as they advanced. "We don't know what's waiting for us." Finally, they'd reached the control room, where a small group of Dominion officers waited. To Turner's surprise, they did not raise their weapons. Instead, they stood in silence, looking at the humans with a mix of uncertainty and hope. "I'm Captain Turner of the Earth Fleet," Turner said, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "We've come to ask for your help. We need to stop the Dominion, and we need your knowledge and your strength." The leader of the defectors, a tall, imposing figure, stepped forward. His uniform was the same as the other Dominion officers, but his expression was different, one of regret, of a man who had seen the truth and now sought redemption. "We were once slaves to the Dominion's will," the leader said, his voice deep and resonant. "But we have seen their true nature. The Dominion seeks to enslave and destroy all who resist them. We have not come this far just to watch it all burn." Turner looked at him, his heart pounding with hope. "Then help us. Together, we can defeat them." The leader nodded. "We will fight with you, Captain. But the real battle is still ahead. The Dominion is vast, and they will not fall easily. We need to strike at their heart." Turner's eyes hardened with resolve. "We'll do whatever it takes." With the new alliance formed, the human fleet and the defecting Dominion ship prepared for the final assault. It was no longer just a battle for survival. It was a battle for freedom. The true fight was about to begin. And this time, the human fleet wasn't alone. The warlords had fallen, but the Dominion was far from defeated. But now, with their new allies, humanity had the chance to fight back. The fleets gathered their strength, ready for the final stand. This was Earth's last hope, and they would not go down without a fight.